So I've got a new book out, but I don't want you to buy it. Let me explain, but first, take a look at this.
Where sea meets land has always had a special place in my heart. From jumping waves and finding crabs as a child, to capturing the unique essence of coastal beauty in more recent years. The sounds of the wind and wildlife, crashing swells and shifting sands, the smell of damp saltiness and seaweed clinging to the breeze, the eternally shifting landscape, sculpted over millennia by wave after wave. Within the sea, unfathomable power. Within ourselves, relaxation, a mesmeric, trance-like feeling, grounding us in the presence through metronomic rhythm, refusing to release us from its undeniable power and beauty. Islanders seek islands. I've sought these islands. The Faroe Islands, Madeira, Iceland, Scotland, Antarctica. I've captured these magical moments in my latest book, Seascapes, where I seek to transport you to the coast, to inspire and to live. When I'm by the coast, I could be anywhere, but I feel like I'm home.
So that was a video that I made with Rick, my great friend, and actually a new team member. He's going to be working with me on producing better videos out in the field. We're just going to do some amazing stuff together. And he helped me produce that video. But this video isn't about this book. It's about why I think you should make your own photo book. I think it's probably the thing that's added the most value to my photography. Printing and seeing your images in print, as I've mentioned so many times before, you've seen so many of my prints, but also making photo books is just so valuable to your photography. You think about your photography in a different way. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go through how you can go about thinking about the images to put in a book, thinking about a book, how I did it, and hopefully by the end of this video, if nothing else, you'll go away and make your own book. I'd rather you go out and make your own book than buy my photo book, because I think that is what's going to add value to you. And that's what I want to do as a channel. I want to make sure that you improve your photography. So we'll start with the first point, which is the planning process. What are you going to shoot? Well, can go on forever, and I've got a project next year that I'm really excited about. I can't tell you about it yet, but you will find out about it. And the projects can be big. They can be like over years and years, like my Vista Woodlands and Seascapes took quite a long time to collate all those images. Or they can just be small. It could just be the summer in your garden, or it could be just your local woodland, or it could be a trip that you go on holiday, or a place you've been to many times. But quite often when you think of that project, you might have some missing images, especially if it's a local shot. I certainly did when I did my Seascapes video. So if we just look here, this is all my long selection of photos from my Seascapes book. So if I just look at the ones that I took in 2021, when I knew that I had to take Seascapes photos, I'd found some gaps in my photos. A few of them were that I didn't feel like I had enough photos locally of the British Isles and certainly locally to where I live. So I took a few more shots around Formby, in North Wales. I also felt like I didn't have enough sort of big wave shots. So when I went to the Faroe Islands, I concentrated on that a little bit more. I added about maybe 10 photos, 12 photos in 2022. And that sort of completed this set that made up Seascapes. And it was just a really nice process to think, okay, I've now got all the things that are going to make up the book. But also what was really important was quite often there can be a lack of enthusiasm with photography. I always go through peaks and troughs, I suppose, where I think, I'm not sure I can be bothered to get out with my camera. But this keeps your enthusiasm up because you think, I've got to get that photo to finish this book. I've really got to get those photos. And it gives you enthusiasm to get out. It's exciting. You know, you really want to capture that one shot that you haven't got yet to complete the set, I suppose. So a lot of people ask about enthusiasm in photography. This is a great way of keeping that up. So once you've got all your photos, you've got to cull your photos. And that is hard because you've got to look at your images in a critical way. Quite often I find when you cull your photos, you end up culling back more than you need because you find faults in your photos. And if you're trying to put something in a book, certainly for me, when I'm trying to sell this book, then those little things that you look over when you're just looking in Lightroom actually matter quite a lot. And I can show you some here. These were a few photos that I actually thought I was going to include in the book. So this was one that I really liked, but when I looked at it in a little bit more detail, I realized that there was just a few faults that I weren't happy with. Not faults so much, but just things that weren't perfect on the photo. So this blue area of sky at the top right here, I felt dragged the eye a little bit. I didn't really like it. I think the blue's fine in the image, I think it works, but that one bit of blue just there didn't work. And then also, and I'm really being pernickety here, but that's what you are when you start putting things in a book, is I didn't feel like there was enough gap between this stream and the edge. It really annoyed me because I don't know why I didn't include a bit more gap, but also the horizon's not quite straight. And as soon as I start changing the horizon, then you start to even get more problems with those two elements as well. The other thing is that I didn't quite include enough depth of field to include this foreground bit sharp, and I didn't feel like that was acceptable either. There was another one here, which was a shot that I took that I really liked when I took it, but you know, when I looked at it in hindsight, I felt that the foreground was probably not dominant enough to have such a big part of the shot and the image. The sky's really nice, and in hindsight I feel like the shot might have been, and I probably needed to do this on site. You can see I've already cropped it, but I think the shot maybe is probably more of this part of the image, but I feel like I needed to compose it a little bit differently, probably as a landscape when I was actually in the field. So you learn a bit about composition, you're more critical, you think, oh, that's not quite sharp, why isn't it sharp? And as you're reviewing your images like that, it makes such a big difference to your photography. And that culling exercise can really, really help. If you are liking this video, please give it a thumbs up. It makes a big difference to the video and my channel. And also, if you're not subscribed, and believe it or not, 50% of the people that watch the video aren't subscribed, then click the subscribe button, it's down there somewhere. And also click that bell icon, because with Rick on board, we're going to be producing more content, and hopefully we'll be launching some midweek videos. The next part, when you've got all your photos, is you've got to think, how are you going to lay them out? And that's, again, a really interesting process, because you've got to think, like in vistas, I did it by country. In woodlands, I did it by season. And in seascapes, I did it by almost like type of photo, so coastline, waves, etc. And there's a multitude of ways that you can do it, but that sort of collation process, that process of thinking about that, is really, really interesting. And also there's a bit of an iterative process with, when you've done that, you think, actually, if I'm gonna have a wave section, I need to go and get some more wave photos. And it's just a really interesting project to do. I just absolutely love the process of putting together the book. The other big part of the layout process is the design process, laying them out, thinking about what fonts you're gonna use. And often people worry about that a little bit. I had a professional designer work with me on my book, but you can do this yourself. And I've used in the past a company called Sol Digital to print my books. They've just been amazing, and they do one-off books. And I actually reached out to them, believe it or not, yesterday. This is Friday, I'm recording this. And I reached out to them, just I thought, oh, it would be good if Sol Digital could give a code to you guys to be able to get a discount. So because I think Sol Digital are a really good company, I definitely have heard loads of brilliant things in comments that I produce whenever I talk about books. And yeah, I think that you'll find that their process of designing a book can either be super easy, where you just actually put your photos into a template that they've already got, and you know, it's just super simple. I think they call it a 1-minute photo book. Then they've got a comfort designer, and then they've got an empty template where you can just upload your things and move them around. But if you also design in InDesign or Photoshop, then you can upload those to their site, and they give really simple instructions of how to think about cut marks and things like that. They make it super simple. The other thing, which is really, really, really important if you are going to get your own book made and printed, is to think about ICC profiles. And that sounds complicated. And basically, it's a profile that that will be used when it goes to print. Basically, it's to convert the color space that you've got on your monitor to the color space that the printers use and what the final print looks like. It's really good if you can get that ICC profile to put into Lightroom so that you can actually soft proof the image. And for instance, on this image here, if I click soft proofing, I can then go and I can choose the profile. And these are the profiles that I use for my printer here. But you can also have one that you can download from Sol Digital, and then it will display the colors, and you can adjust them or see what it's going to look like and see if it's bright enough, you know, all those sort of things. Always think about calibrating your monitor. Always think about the brightness of your monitor. You don't want your monitor too bright, otherwise it's not going to look right, because that's backlit and a book isn't. But Sol Digital, thanks for giving us this code. It's 35% off. I'll set up a link below that takes you to the EU, the UK or the US site, and the offer code is Nigel Danson 22. So hopefully that'll all work. We did it at the last minute, and hopefully that'll enable you to do a book a little bit cheaper. Okay, on to the sort of final point on a book, and that is the writing part of a book. Oh, by the way, Sol Digital, you know, these are the types of books that you can get as well. So this was a little one I did on the Faroe Islands. This was a bigger one. This is their professional series with a wooden look bind. The quality of the print is amazing. I can really attest to them. The print quality is really good. So finally, the last thing I want to talk about is writing. I always think with a book that the pictures should do the talking, but I think it's also good to put a little bit of story against some of the pictures. That's what I did in my Seascapes book. You know, for probably 30–40% of the images, there's a little bit of a story. You know, sometimes there's a little bit of technical detail, sometimes there's a little bit of why I took the photo. And I'm dyslexic and I absolutely hate writing, which is why I love photography so much. But I think it's really important to write that. And I think when you start writing about your photos, everything sort of comes together, and this whole book process is so nice. And some people like writing more and have more words than images. But trust me, when you do this, when you get this final product and it comes through the post, it is the most amazing thing. You'll be so proud. Photography just comes alive. It's just, I can't stress how much it makes a difference to your photography. Now, I know I'm banging on about it, and that's why I titled this video, Don't Buy My Book, because I really don't want you to until you've committed to your own book. So nobody can buy my book until they've committed to their own book. So thanks ever so much for watching. The next few weeks, you're going to see lots of me out in the field. Rick's coming with me. We're going to do some amazing, amazing videos. I'm not going to walk too far, but it's going to be good. Bye.